My name is Mark. Welcome back to my home. This is another installment of my Nucamp Tab 2015 Max S trailer upgrades and maintenance. In the last set of videos, you saw me install a drain in my Aldi system. There are two drains. Having to do with improving the ability and making this easier to drain the liquid out. This is a schematic I've drawn of my particular Aldi installation. And here's the passenger radiator. Here's the driver's side radiator, and there's the back radiator. And this is the boiler itself. It has one drain here on this side of the boiler. It's a low spot here. But you can see that all that basically does is drain the liquid down from the reservoir down and out. There's a check valve right here, and so that check valve only allows liquid to go this direction. So liquid can't go this way and drain. So since that check valve is there, you can get a little bit of the liquid out of the pump, you can get a little bit of the liquid out of here, a little bit out of this regulator, but there is a low spot here, and there is a low spot here, and so that's where I put my drain here. And I put another drain here, and now my whole system drains out just fine. Well, that's so much for getting the water out. But in looking at this system, you also have to be able to get the air out, right? When you're trying to drain the fluid out, it's nice to have low drains. And when you're trying to get air out, it's nice to have high what are called air bleed valves. And there are two air bleed valves in this system. There's a manual one here in the back, and I'll show you a picture of that. And there's an automatic one here. There's a high spot at the top of the Aldi right here. There's an automatic one here, and I'll show you a picture of that. Now, there are three companies that are involved in this problem. There's a company called Nucamp. Right, you know them. There's a company called Aldi, and you know them. And there's a company called Califi, C-A-L-E-F-F-I. So we know who Nucamp is. We know who Aldi is. Who the heck is Califi? Califi are the people that make this automatic air bleed valve. Now let's talk about lots of people I know, lots of people with these trailers are having problems with air bubbles in here. The complaints start from it's noisy, all right, it's gurgling and making weird sounds. It's not heating. I've got a red fault code, red fault overheat. What happens is that air gets in these lines, and like right here, it would plug the lines so that the circulation pump can't push that air around. 2, it just makes noise. And 3, it can get into the boiler. And if you get a big pocket of air in the boiler, just like your hot water heater in your home, those heating elements can overheat because they're supposed to be covered in water, but if you take them out of the water and they're in air, they overheat. And that's where that overheat failure comes from. So it's really important to be able to get this air out. So I started doing some research. Why is everyone having such trouble with this air? There's a manual bleed here, and there's this automatic bleed here. Why isn't this guy doing his job? So I did some research. It turns out, let me show you a picture of how the Aldi's installed. I contacted Aldi and they sent me this. This is that automatic air bleed that we showed you. I'll flip back to it. This is the black hose that it's hooked to. According to Khalifi is the company that makes that. In fact, I'll show you the pictures of that. Khalifi makes these automatic bleed valves. And how an automatic bleed valve works is there's basically a can at the size of a medicine can, and the pipe connects to it on the bottom, and there's a float in here, like a carburetor float. And there's a valve right here, and there's a pipe here, and a little cup here. And what basically happens is that if there's air here all below this float will be down, this valve will be open, and air will come out. And what happens is the air moves out, the air bubbles moving out, and here comes the water level. Water level comes up, it hits the bottom of the float, it lifts the float up, which plugs that hole, and the air stops. If a new bubble shows up behind here, that float will drop, and that valve will open, let the air out, come back up. That's how they're supposed to work. But here's the rub, guys. Aldi, they use Khalifi parts, and this is all great, but Nucamp, when they installed this, they didn't. Khalifi says, when I contacted Khalifi says that their valves must be mounted vertical to work. You can imagine that this, let's say there's water right here. What happens if I turn this thing like that? Water level gets all funky like that, and that valve won't work. It has to be mounted vertical. You cannot mount one of these horizontal. And look at this drawing done by Aldi. This pipe comes out, that valve is vertical, and look over here. There's a plastic clip, a clip here that's intended that this pipe goes on that clip. They do that on purpose so that that clip with the pipe in it ensures that this valve will be vertical. Well, if you look at the installation out there, let me go show you a picture of that. You can see that clip, the Nucamp people have taken that hose off that clip and they have mounted it diagonally here. Show you a picture of that too. That's the problem. That's why these valves are not working. That's why everyone is having trouble with air in their systems, is because they mounted this valve horizontally. It's at an angle so that the float doesn't work right in there, and this whole thing just doesn't function. So I wanted to make this a two-part video so it's not too long. I wanted to show you the issue. I wanted to show you the issue of what's going on. I'm going to design a fix for it. What I believe I'm going to do is I'm going to put a 45-degree angle right here, a little copper. You see them, not like a 90-degree elbow, but a 45-degree angle, which will allow me to lift this pipe back up where it belongs and have this guy be vertical where it belongs. So I'm going to go take some engineering drawings and start work on it, see what kind of length I needs to go. But this is part one, having to do I've got air pockets in my heater. You all do. You all had this problem, blah, blah, blah. Why is that when we've got an automatic system in here? Well, the problem is not with Aldi. The problem is not with Caliphate, who makes the valve. The problem is with Nucamp when they have installed this incorrectly. That hose is supposed to be in that clip. They have taken that hose out of that clip. That makes that valve sit sideways like that, and the fluid level cannot work on the float correctly anymore. It has to sit like this so that the water level can come up and push that float up and let the air out. Just as simple as that. So this is part one. I'll get to a part two when I can. Show you my solution to this. Here we are back in the trailer. This is the overpressure valve, or not the overpressure valve. This is the auto air bleed. And look at the angle that that's mounted on. That's mounted on a 45-degree angle. This guy's supposed to be, he's supposed to be up square. See this plastic hook? That pipe is supposed to be in that hook so that this whole thing sits up here horizontal rather than at an angle like that. That's really ugly. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to design something to allow this to fit, because this hose is not long enough. That guy's supposed to sit up there flat, and he's not. He's supposed to be in that hook right there. That's what that hook is for. See you later. But that is why so many people are having so much trouble with air in their Aldi systems. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll be back.